Crocker. I'm Director of Training and Technical Assistance here at the Community Action Partnership, your national membership association. And thank you so much for tuning in to this afternoon's webinar, or this morning, depending on what coast you're signing in from, on implementing online customer satisfaction surveys. Before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, as with all of our training and technical assistance webinars, we are recording this afternoon's event. It will be available for download on the partnership website, so you can replay the webinar, and we will also have copies of the slides and some other materials for you available through our website. So if you have any questions about that, you can just contact me or Liza Porras, our program associate here, directly if you need any assistance in accessing that video. This is the first in a series of 2 additional webinars coming up, so please make sure to check the partnership webinar, website for our upcoming webinars. In addition to our peer-to-peer webinar series, we also have a webinar Wednesday that is every 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so please make sure you check back on the partnership website for updates and for a schedule of our upcoming webinar and other training events. So, on to this afternoon's webinar. Again, thank you all very much for signing in, and thanks to our 2 presenters. We have joining us Dan Lucky Boyd, who is Executive Director of the Community Services of Northeast Texas, and Jaime Longoria, who's Executive Director from Hidalgo County Community Services Agency, both located in the Republic of Texas. And again, we wanted to provide you with this webinar because we had a number of agencies who are interested in looking at the possibility of developing online customer satisfaction systems, and both Lucky and Jaime's agency have implemented very robust online customer satisfaction survey systems, and so we wanted to give them the opportunity to share their experiences with the rest of the network. All of you are muted when you are joining the webinar, but you do have the ability to ask questions through that chat function. So as we go through, we will stop a couple of times through the presentations to take questions, so feel free to enter those questions at any time, and also please feel more than free to follow up with us after the webinar if we can connect you with either of the agencies or ask you any additional questions. So with that, I want to turn it over to Dan Lucky Boyd from the Community Services of Northeast Texas to talk about what's going on at his agency and how they've implemented their online customer satisfaction system. So Lucky, take it away.
Joe, thanks. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you.
All right. So in my little presentation, I have a press the secret key to start slide, which always keeps me from going straight to the first slide. But if you'll just advance us on to this is what we're going to talk about, gathering customer satisfaction data. Why do we have to do that? Well, Org Standard 1.3 says that your organization is going to have a systematic approach for collecting, analyzing, and reporting customer satisfaction data to the board, and Organizational Standard 6.5, 6.4 says that customer satisfaction data and consumer input collected as part of the community assessment is included in the strategic planning process. So there's 2 org standards that tell us we have to collect customer satisfaction data. So if we look at our next slide, we'll see that, let's see here, there we go. So your case manager is talking with your client, and she says, "I'm so glad we could help you with your family's needs today. We're all done now." Well, at my agency, that phrase, "we're all done now," reminds us that there's one more thing to do. So she's thinking, that reminds me, all done now is my cue. And so we have, let me go this way. We have a website called alldonenow.com. And you say, well, we're a nonprofit. Why do we choose .com instead of .org? Well, people think in the terms of .coms these days, not necessarily .orgs, so it's easy to remember. So we went with .com, alldonenow.com. Now, what does alldonenow.com do? When they go there, it is the CS&T Customer Satisfaction Survey. It's 10 little questions, easy as pie, and let's go take a look. There's 3 questions on the first page. Now remember, we're not always wanting to know, hey, where's my page going? There it is. We're not always wanting to know, we're not always wanting clients to say how good of a job we did. We want to know what the result was. Not that we just did a good job or that we were nice to them or whatever. This customer satisfaction data, we think, goes deeper. So we want to know more about the changes that took place, not necessarily how we did, but we'll get to that. The first question, the program and my participation in it has been fully explained. So the answer tells us a lot. Did we develop a relationship with the client? The program has taught me to find services I need. So were we helpful in teaching the client to search for services that we didn't talk about during our visit? Because of the program, I'm better able to provide for myself and my household. That is an outcome that we're looking for. So we want to know, do they agree? We also give them, it's not an open-ended question, but we give them a place to do the quantitative answer to the question and a qualitative comment on maybe why they answered that way. So 4, 5, and 6 are about, because of the program, I'm better at problem solving. Because of the program, I'm better at keeping a budget. And I can speak openly and honestly with my case manager. If I can't do that, none of the rest of the things are going to really get done. So remember, we haven't really talked about a client that has come in for CAP, and we just want to know, hey, how did we do with providing you with CAP? Because the movement, at least at our agency, is that CAP is going to be more of a program that is less case manager intensive, and our case managers are going to focus on self-sufficiency programs and less on the CAP entitlement. So the next 3 questions, my case manager listens to me, isn't generally interested, my case manager was accessible, and my case manager was able to help me find the services I needed. So this number 9 is really going to be the I came in for utility assistance, did I get it question. So the rest of the questions tend to be more about the relationship between the case manager and the outcomes that we want to get. So then we go to question 10, in which county did you receive services, and a place on number 11 to add any additional comments. Now this is done through SurveyMonkey, which I'll talk about in a minute, so the analytics are really, really easy. So there's our website, all done now. Now how do I get to that website? Well, there's a couple of ways. Come on, man, where's my screen? Maybe we should ask Chuck Norris. He knows everything. I don't know if you knew this, but Chuck Norris knows absolutely everything. Chuck Norris knows the last digit of pi. That's how smart Chuck Norris is. And Chuck Norris, he knows how to get to alldonenow.com. You could just go to the website on your computer and type in alldonenow.com and get there. But how many of our clients are really going to do that? I don't know. But if they all have smartphones, that would be easier. We could just have them scan this QR code and it would go right to alldonenow.com on their phone. This is what it would look like. There's those first 3 questions that go through the 4 pages, the 10 questions, and boom, they can even do it before they leave the office. That's why each one of our case managers has that QR code on a sign right on the front lip of their desk so that people can do that on the way out of the building. All right, so all the responses are collected by SurveyMonkey. Your responses can be analyzed easily online. So just take a look here. We've had 631 responses, 99% completion rate. This means that 99% of the people that start the survey complete the survey. And it takes them about 2 minutes to do on the average. Then you can get all sorts of reports. Pick a question. Because of the program, I'm better at problem solving. And these people strongly agreed. These people agreed. These weren't sure. These disagreed. And these strongly agreed. Well, this would make us look at this wedge. How many people strongly disagreed that because of the program, they're better at problem solving? Maybe we find out who those people are, and maybe we have a great little one sheet on problem solving, and we just mailed it to them and ask them if they want to come back in for some more training on problem solving. Hey, Lucky, tell us how you do that. Okay, well, it's easy, so I'll show you. Decide where your clients will go to take the survey. It can be on your website. SurveyMonkey will provide you with a URL if you want, or you can buy your own web domain like we did. Create your survey on SurveyMonkey. It's actually free, but you have to learn how to spell monkey. That's an E there, not an A. So then you create a QR code, which you can do that at theqrcodegenerator.com. Don't forget the little dashes in there. It's free. You just type in your web address, the QR code generates, you right-click on the QR code and save it to your computer. You can put it on your website or print it out. If you want a special web domain, they cost about $10 a year, and you can get them at GoDaddy.com. If you need assistance with making it all work, I'll help you. Just email me, and I'll walk you through what I can. Now, Chuck Norris says, thank you, but you better remember this stuff or else. Man, you don't want to tick off Chuck Norris. All done.
Thanks so much, Lucky. Why don't we just take a minute or two, see if there are any questions from the participants. And Lucky, I actually have a question or two myself. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of training that you had to provide staff to get this system up and running? Because it does sound like it takes a few steps on their part.
Well, what we need to do with the staff is teach them the buzzword. And for us, we're all done now. I just really drove home the point that when we're through with an interview, we all say, we're all done now. And that reminds them that they need to tell the customer about the customer satisfaction survey. It's also in some of our printed material. It's also, on our website that we send clients to. So basically, what I did with staff is I said, what kind of questions do we want to ask? What gives us the answers that we can analyze? Then I built the system and then took it back to them and I said, look, all you need to do is get people there and let the system work itself. So we put in the All Done Now website. We put in the phrase that they all say to the customers, we're all done now. That triggers the reminder that they need to tell them about the survey. And since we started doing that way, we had over 1,000% increase in people going through the survey.
Well, those are amazing results, but we've also had a question come in. What do you do with customers who don't have a cell phone or otherwise might have trouble connecting to the internet or who might not be that computer savvy?
We have computers right here in the office. They can use a computer in any office that they come into. It's available from any internet-connected device. So we go further and say, okay, well, do you have a QR scanner on your phone? No. Can your phone go to the internet? Yes. would you like to fill out the survey? Because you would. It takes less than 2 minutes, and we'd love to know what you think. And you don't have to give your name. And we put it to them that way, and if they still don't have a way to fill it out, we'll even go so far as to tell them, look, there's 9 little questions. Do you care if I ask you the questions and you give me the answers, and I'll put them in for you? So we'll go as far as we need to, and if they just don't want to fill it out, we're not going to make them fill it out. It's just one of those things.
And about how often do you get together as a leadership team or sort of in a similar group to look at your customer satisfaction data? What does that part of the process look like?
Once a quarter, I pull the data and give a report to my director of operations, and then once a year, we pull the data and give it to the board. We give all 4 quarters of data to the board. And then during our strategic plan update process, then we ask the questions of ourselves, are there any changes we need to make to A, the survey, B, the survey collection process, and C, our processes that tell us, that the survey tells us are doing well or doing poorly.
Great. And about how long did it take you to get this system in place? And if another agency were thinking about going down this path, what kind of money would they need to invest to get this kind of system up and running?
Well, if they want to put it on their website that's already up and running, and they want to use SurveyMonkey, it'll cost them $0 except for some labor to put it together, and it's not that difficult. I think I did the whole thing in about an hour. But I do this kind of stuff all the time, so it's easy. So if someone it was their first time through, it might take them a couple of hours to get it put together.
Excellent. So it really is using out-of-the-box technology that's already available, fairly cheap and off the shelf. And it sounds like really the main lift is getting staff trained up on it and getting everybody consistently using the survey.
Yeah, that was really the hardest part. We had the survey available, and we just kind of in passing told people about it. But when we instituted the buzzword of all done now, that's what drove all the employees to always make sure that clients and customers knew about the survey.
Great. And Lucky, how big is your agency? How many locations do you have? Just to give folks a sense of the size of your operation.
Well, we have 12 counties for CSBG and SEAC. I also have a Head Start program in 4 counties, so I have about 130 employees, but only about 20 of them on the CSBG side. So I have 9 full-time case managers that see clients in those 12 counties.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to give folks another second or so to see if you've got any other questions. We've got a couple other questions that have come through. Well, actually, one more. Do you ask a customer to complete the survey every time they come into your office?
Absolutely. I want to know what they're thinking right now, because maybe what they're thinking has changed, and maybe what we're doing has changed. So to that, I would say, once you got your first grade report card, did you not get any more? No, you get report cards all the time. And so we want report cards all the time on what we're doing. So every time they're here, if they want to take it, great. Some do, some don't, but we always want to know what they're thinking.
Excellent. So I think that is all the questions that I've seen come in. Lucky, thank you so much for talking about how you have put your system together. My guess is you'll probably get some folks contacting you for some additional information. And we will also, we're in the process of putting together a guide on customer satisfaction for our agencies. And so we'll be working with both of our Texas agencies to incorporate some of their suggestions and hopefully get some easy-to-use instructions so all of you listening and across the network can use these approaches. But Lucky, thank you again, and we're now going to turn it over to Jaime Longoria, the Executive Director of Hidalgo County Community Services Agency, to talk about what he has done in his agency and how his system works. So Jaime, take it away.
Gerald, thank you so much, and thank you to the partnership for reaching out to us and allowing us to time with our partners across the country. And I just want to say hello to everybody across the country and hope you're enjoying the wonderful weather as we are 80 degrees in South Texas. So y'all, hopefully you're enjoying that. I just wanted to share with you guys, we do have with me today, I have Art Salinas, who's an IT specialist who has gone to the dark side and left our work with us at Community Action and went to work for a university. But he was our former IT person. So he's sitting there next to me together with our current IT person, Jaime Villescas. And we also have my Director of Operations, Guillermo Palacios. So collectively, we're going to share some ideas and some thoughts with you all and hoping to make the idea of surveys a little easier for everybody. First of all, we wanted to start off with the slide that talks about our mission statement. I came over to this agency about 4.5 years ago, and some of the agencies across the country were able to relate. Things were a little bit in turmoil. The agency didn't have a really good name. Wait times were through the roof. Clients were not, didn't have a lot of faith in our system and how we did things. One of the very first things we did, folks, is we developed we went back to our mission statement and we redeveloped our mission statement. And the key words here are we provide effective, efficient, and comprehensive services. Those words are really the capstone of what we do at Hidalgo County Community Service Agency. We want to be able to be effective, efficient, and comprehensive. And how do we do that? Well, we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't know what clients expected of us. So because of that, one of the first things we did was we implemented a customer satisfaction survey. We thought about going the old route and doing an old paper route where we would, have somebody fill out using a pen and pencil filling out a survey, but we wanted it to be a little bit more tech savvy. We did have a really good IT guy, so we decided to go this route. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of an introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about technical specifications because we do have the IT guys in the room, and we wanted to make sure that everybody understood how we put our survey together. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the survey, the ups and downs of the survey. We're going to talk a little bit about how we train staff and how we get clients to participate. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the results and how we integrate the results and how we use it to motivate staff, how we use it to inform our board, and how we use it really to improve our services. You can go ahead and skip that. That's just my welcome to you guys from South Texas. I wanted to step back and talk a little bit about client surveys. In order to have the correct insight, in order to receive the feedback that is so critical to your organization, you have to ask your customers. They're the ones that are going to be able to really make sense of what's going on in your shop. And sometimes the responses that we get are really not the responses that we're thrilled to hear. But it's really, in hearing those kinds of responses, those kinds of criticism, those kinds, in some circles are called complaints, that we're able to really address the issues and really address training issues, really able to address personnel issues, really able to address, in some cases, just environmental issues. And that's the only way that we're able to gather the information in our organization to be able to move forward. Our survey is a little different than Dan's, is that we're still at the stage where we're wanting to know wait times. We're wanting to know, did we thank you? How well did we treat you folks? Those are the kinds of things. We have another survey that's not on here actually, our veteran survey that we administer to veterans, a different program. It started from the ground up very recently. It's got a different kind of questions, more of the qualitative questions that Dan talked about earlier. But for purposes of our discussion right now, we're going to talk about the basic rudimentary survey that we put together when I came here about 2.5 years ago. I'm going to introduce, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our survey as it exists today and how we put our survey together in-house. Mr. Salinas, Art Salinas, is going to talk a little bit about a different model that's not on the PowerPoint actually, but he's going to talk, he's the one that started this particular survey that we're talking about. He has left our agency and gone kind of into the private sector, and he actually contracts with another agency in Texas to host their data. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what we're doing in-house today, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Art for just a little bit. First of all, the hardware specifications. We do need to have internet service provider. You do need to have a modem. We do use a firewall. We do have our own server, and of course you're gonna need a computer, laptop, or other internet-enabled device. We have the luxury of in-house having an IT person. Jaime Viescas is our IT person. He can tell you a little bit about the specifications and the things that we use, the hardware that we use currently in-house today.
We're having a little bit of trouble with the audio on your end.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. OS software and
All right, you're still fading out a little bit.
sorry. Yeah, no, this is basic software. The OS software uses the database browsers you would use to access.
Nope, you're still a little bit faint on our end.
Just a quick recommendation, if you're having a different person speak, it seems like because you're connected to the computer, having that person be as close as you were originally, so we will be able to hear them, because if it's a different person speaking, they're just too far away.
Can you hear me a little better now?
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. Yeah, I think it's just because we're at an angle. Like I said, we're just going over the basic OS, the software used to develop the database, and the GUI, or the visual interface, and then the browser that you would use to access the site. That's pretty much basic stuff.
Now this is if you have all this system here in-house, you remember you need to have a server running IIS, sonic wall, internet, and of course laptops to capture all those surveys. Now, don't think this is the only route. There's another route where we could just host your program. So basically, you send your questions in, you send us your questions, in 30 minutes, your server will be online in the cloud. So basically what that means is it's not hosted in your premises. It's like SurveyMonkey. You're going to have a link. You're going to have a www.youragencyname.com. And when you click on that link, you're able to fill out your survey. You're able to see your survey with your logo and all that good stuff. Same thing with the results. You have a different link for your results where you put in your username and password, and you're able to generate your results in real time. Since it's in the cloud, you're able to have it on your East agency. You're able to have it on the West agency. When you pull up your reporting, you'll be able to filter it by agency. You'll be able to see real-time data. Not only that, but you have redundancy. Let's say, for example, the agency's power is out, but you're still able to you have your survey running even though you basically don't have any power because your survey is in the cloud. Basically, if you're in the cloud, you don't need any of this hardware. You don't need hardware. You don't need any software. I mean, you'll be good to go in 30 minutes.
just kind of rehash what we just talked about. So there's two routes, actually, Charles. The first route was if you have your own hardware and your own software, certainly, and that's the route that we had taken initially, was we put this together using our own equipment and our own software. The second part of the presentation, what Art just mentioned, is he has left Community Action and he's working with agencies to simply host their information to help them put their surveys together. And that has been very, very successful in the case of several of the Texas agencies. We're continuing to use our own hardware. We continue to use our own software. Jaime Viescas, our IT person, continues to work with that data and present that data to our board and to administrators. Art is able to remotely present that information to the administrators that subscribe to his service as well. So two different routes, similar kinds of results. So we'll go forward from here. Go ahead. Okay, just to tell you a little bit about the survey that we use now. This is, I call it the hardwired survey that we use in-house. It's very similar to Dan's survey. We wanted it to be short and simple. We asked 10 quick questions. We do gather some demographic data and some information on the person that's filling out the survey, simply because we want to be able to track it and come back to the person who's filled out the survey to be able to follow up with them. So we try to make it easy to understand, and we want to make sure that we give them the opportunity to give us any. We have one open-ended question where they can pretty much just vent, or they can pretty much compliment as much as they want. As far as we give them an unlimited, character capability at for question number 10. We also, in our area, because we do have a very we have a large percentage of our families are monolingual Spanish. We have the capability to make our survey at the touch of a button. We flip over to Spanish, and I don't know if you can see the cursor, but you hit the Espanol button and it automatically translates the whole survey into Spanish, so that they can actually see that in Spanish. Again, our questions are very basic. We wanted to ask, how did they hear about our agency? Because we wanted to know where we could advertise better, where we could send messages, where critical information was being gathered by people that are walking in the door. We wanted to know if they were greeted in a professional manner when they walked in, because that's one of the things that our board said was lacking in our previous administration, was clients weren't being treated in a professional way. Because we offer a wide variety of services, of clients that walk in the door, they have a wide variety of needs. We wanted to know what they received from our agency. Did they receive weatherization assistance? Did they receive case management? Did they get a referral to another agency? What exactly were they here for? We also wanted to gather information on how they were treated by staff, whether they were walked to the door once they completed their interview. And something that's really important to us is when the surveys are being completed. So once the interview is completed, the client starts to walk out the door. Our employee walks that client to the station where we have some laptop computers. Actually, they're Surface computers, and they're internet enabled, and we allow them to fill out the survey right on the spot. The staff member walks away because we want to make sure that we're able to gather accurate and truthful data. We want to make sure that we're not influencing the outcome of that data. So what we choose to do is we have an RSVP volunteer who is charged with assisting the client in manipulating the computer to be able to fill out the survey. It's important to us that the client, as much as possible, fill out the survey. But if they do need someone to assist them, we want that someone to be independent and have an independent point of view. Well, as we back out and we talk about training is really simple. Really, it's 20-minute, 30-minute training. We do a quick walkthrough with staff just so that they can know how to log on and get the surfaces working. We show staff how clients are to fill out the survey, how clients can zoom in, and the computers, of course, are touch screen, so they can make the font bigger and smaller as they wish. We show them how to flip over into Spanish, and we show them how to query the survey for results and how to analyze data. That, of course, is our administrative staff. How we administer this to clients, I've talked about it a little bit. I jumped ahead, but after we interview the clients, they're escorted and informed as to how they can voluntarily fill out the survey. And like I said, what's really important to us is that they give us contact information so that we can follow up. Our results are simple and straightforward. We do get a summary, a numerical summary of the number of folks who are satisfied with our services, who are not satisfied with our services. So it's a very, very basic kind of output. But even more importantly are, number one, over on the left, and I know it's tiny, but really are the comments that clients leave behind, the open-ended question that they can really just talk to us about their experience, talk to us about their expectations, talk to us about what they felt we need to hear. And then there's a button off to the left where I can click on that particular survey. It's highlighted. I can click on that survey and it takes me to their identifying data. As an administrator, I'm the only one, together with my executive administrator, who has access to that identifying data. And that results generally, if it's an unfavorable comment or a suggestion, it results in a phone call within 24 hours, where I turn right around and make contact with that client and let them know that we're going to try to do a better job and that, yes, there is someone listening. What I hear an awful lot from clients is they didn't expect to have a call back, and that's really exciting for me. The other thing that I really like about this is that my IT folks were able to put together a little application on my phone where I can be across the country, I can be in a CAP workshop, I can be on vacation, and I can log into my app on my phone and I can pull the results for any given date range, anywhere my phone gets service. So to me, that's really effective. I've been with the board president at a conference and was asking me about a complaint that he or she received, and I'm able to discuss the issue and resolve the issue right from my cell phone, right at the moment that it presents itself. I think that's very helpful and is very portable and very useful for me. I talked a little bit about how simple it is to pull reports for us, and that is you select the date range. I think we've got surveys that are probably 3 years, that have been in the system 3 years. I can go back to 2015 when I first got here and we implemented this system, and pull a report that shows me what kind of results we've been getting over those last 3 years. Or I can make it as short as just 2 days or even 1 day. This is a sample of the report that I talked about. You'll see where it says select. That's where I'm able to highlight and click on a particular comment and be able to go right to that identifying information. In this case, I selected the top comment, and it gives me Jane Doe's name and address, and it gives me the results of their comments. This is a copy of this is just a survey format, and you can see it gives me really crude, just basic crude numbers. And of course, if I want percentages or fancy pie charts, then I can certainly put them on Excel or something else to be able to get the data analyzed. And then, just in concluding, I wanted to mention and I wanted to emphasize the two different routes. We opted early on to utilize our IT staff. We had the equipment, we had the software. Our IT guy, in this case, Mr. Salinas, with later on with Mr. Viescas, his assistants, put together the survey questions. We talked to a university professor who kind of helped us craft those questions, and then and we're able to use the system as it is now. In talking to Art, he's migrated to a different version, and that is web hosting, if you will, where he hosts the data and he actually crunches the data for for organizations and then provides that information to their executive leadership. Both systems are good systems. I will tell you that I'm pleased and I'm always excited to share comments with our board, good or bad, because those are experiences that we grow from. I will tell you that in closing is that we do present our data on a monthly basis. All of these reports get submitted to our advisory board, and the summaries are presented to our commissioners court so that they too can understand what's going on in our agency from a customer perspective. That's really all I have for you folks, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you so much, Jaime. And we're waiting for questions to come in. So, folks, go ahead and type your questions into the chat window. And I actually have a couple of questions myself. So, how long did it take you to set up your system and get it up and running? And also, a related question: what kind of training? Same one as I asked Lucky. What kind of training did you provide staff to help implement that system?
I'm going to let Art Salinas, who was our IT person at the time, answer that.
It doesn't take long. It takes me no more than 25 minutes to set up. The training is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's just the questions, and then on the portal, just to see the results, it's just a separate link where you will get a credential to log in.
Excellent, and we've had another question come in, and I guess this could be for both Jaime and Lucky. Has your survey changed any over time, sort of based on the responses, and what questions seem to be more or less useful?
From my perspective, and this is Jaime speaking, from my perspective, absolutely, your questions will change over time, and it really depends on what your needs are. As I mentioned early on, our needs when I came on board and for the last couple of years has been really to change the perception of our agency in terms of the level of professionalism, the level of because we're a pretty large agency. We serve about 9,000 clients a year. We're used to long lines forming before we come into the facility at 8 o'clock in the morning. So speed of processing clients is something that's really important to us. We're not going to sacrifice quality, and we do an interview with each client as they come in, and we set interviews. But certainly, we don't want to give clients an experience where they're waiting for 4 hours. We want to make sure that clients know that their time is as important to us as our own schedules. So yes, our questions have changed over time. That's driven a lot by our board members and our advisory board as they come to grips with what's important and what they see that our needs are as we go forward in our planning process.
Great, and we have another question about your website address, and you can get Lucky's questions at we'realldonenow.com. Anybody can just go ahead and access that link directly from his slides, or just type it into your browser. And Jaime, how would folks get a copy of your questions, or can they access your website just to take a look at what it looks like?
See, how CSA has it is remember, they said they have it in-house. They don't have an IP address.
Okay, so the address for Jaime's agency is just in-house. They access it directly, but we can work with him to post the questions that's on that survey with the webinar slides, and of course, just send me an email directly, and I can send you those questions out as well.
Absolutely, we've talked about that, and we were very concerned about folks from the outside that maybe were not recent participants of our agency services to be able to access the website. We're working on a complete redo of our agency's website, and we plan on having a link to the survey on this new website, complete with a new address as well. We wanted to make sure that we were capturing clients' experiences as they walked in the door today, and not some holdover from what had happened in the past.
Great. And another question, are you able to drill down to particular programs? I know Lucky had it set up where he had, it sounds like a couple of different surveys for different programs, but are you able to distinguish between your customers maybe in different facilities or different programs?
At this point, well, the only way we do that is we have different surveys for different programs. I mentioned earlier we have a veteran survey, and that's how we're able to kind of distinguish that. So we don't merge the data, so to speak. So we never have to filter it. So if, for instance, if we've got our RSVP program or our senior core program, and we want to know results and we want information on that particular organization or that department, then we go ahead and set up a different survey for them completely.
Great. So you're really able to drill down to program-specific data.
Yes, because we have individual surveys for individual programs, and we may use some of the same questions, but in the end, they do have different kinds of results.
Great. And we have another question. How do you measure success in terms of your program effectiveness, and also any non-customer service related support that you provide? So I guess anything that's not directly related to individual programs.
I don't know. I'm not sure I understand the question.
So I guess for the first part of the question, in terms of measuring success, my guess is they're also asking about, in addition to your customer satisfaction surveys, what other measures of success do you include? So I would assume it's things like, program outputs and outcomes. So in addition to customer satisfaction, what other things are you tracking to measure success of your programs and services?
Gosh, I guess through our case management software and all of our case management, we have a whole complete different system for that. Case management outputs and those kinds of things really come through our Shaw software. And that's completely unrelated to customer satisfaction. This particular survey is trying to capture how good of a job we're doing in administering the programs that we have at hand, and how good are we doing at addressing the needs of folks who walk in the door. Anything that happens inside the room with the case manager as far as addressing specific needs is captured through Shaw software.
Yeah, this is Lucky. Organizational Standard 9.1 talks about having a systematic way of collecting client data, analyzing it, client demographics, services customers receive, etc. And so that's tracking one thing. Customer satisfaction data is tracking something else, and it's spoken to differently in the org standards, and I think it's spoken to differently at the agency level. One, yeah, you're tracking everything through your client tracking software, and there's ways to analyze outcomes, and even some satisfaction data can be gleaned from that. Then there's the input you get directly from your customers, and that's where your satisfaction survey comes in. Jaime survey collects a lot of data from the customers. Ours just is an overview. What we're going to be giving clients options to answer more questions if they want. But I don't know that building something new for testing your outcomes and your measures is probably all that wise, seeing as you have FNPIs that you have to do every month. I would say I would look for your successes and your evaluation part of Roma. That's where most of your data is going to come from. It's from your MPIs and your client tracking software.
Yeah, great advice. And we also did an earlier webinar in our peer-to-peer series with the United Planning Organization, and they have an agency-wide scorecard that they've set up that's connected to their strategic plan. And most of that webinar focuses on the scorecard and how they use it. We also have copies of the template that they use for their scorecard. So folks who are interested in how other agencies are tracking outcome data could take a look at that webinar. Of course, it's recorded on the partnership website, and again, we have those links to the templates they use for their scorecard up on there with the recording and the slides themselves. All right, but otherwise, it looks like that is all of the questions. So again, if folks have any additional questions, please feel more than free to follow up with me offline. Always happy to answer more questions. And Lucky and Jaime, thank you again for your time sharing what you've been doing at your agencies with the rest of the network. Hopefully, this has been valuable for folks on the line and on the webinar. And again, look for that partnership resource that's coming out in the next couple of weeks on customer satisfaction, and we'll continue to work with both of our Texas agencies to see if there are ways that we can help disseminate these online systems that they're using. So thank you all again for signing in. Remember to take a look at the partnership website for upcoming webinars. We have 2 more in this peer-to-peer series. We have coming up next a great webinar with a couple of agencies from Michigan and Alabama on their community needs assessments. And otherwise, please feel more than free to suggest other topics, or if your agency has a best practice you'd like to share, you can contact me directly. So thanks again to everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we hope to see you at our Management Leadership Training Conference in the 2nd week of January in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana. So thanks again to our agencies on the line, and hopefully I will see you on the road or in New Orleans. So thanks, everyone, and have a great week.